Question 13. Don says, we have already discussed the significator, so I will skip to number 13. Transformation of body is called death. For with death, the body is transformed to a higher vibration body for additional learning. Is this correct? Ra simply says, this is correct and may be seen to be additionally correct in that each moment, and certainly each diurnal period of the bodily incarnation, offers death and rebirth to one which is attempting to use the catalyst which is offered it. So beautiful part about the archetype of death in the body. Now, the immediate association that we will have with this is physical death. So the transformation of the body is at the end of your life, right? No. That is, of course, a major cycle. And with the word cycle, I'm not referring to the body cycle of the archetypical mind, but a simple cycle. Okay, let's just talk about cycles. One lifetime is a cycle, for sure. As Ra suggests, is also a diurnal cycle. So you wake up, every time you wake up, you have been rebirthed, reborn, and you die every night. Okay? So that is another cycle. Then there is the cycle of meditation, for example, which can happen every other minute or every second, or it doesn't matter. You just simply stop thinking. When you return, or contemplation, this usually happens with people who just naturally go into contemplation mode, and suddenly somebody or something stirs them from their contemplation, and they say, wow, I wasn't here for a second. You know, they say, I was lost for a second, for a minute. I don't even know how long. So that's a rebirth. In any case, these are all signals that our perception can fluctuate. Our awareness of perceptions can fluctuate. And so there is always the possibility of being reborn. Of course, now this is taking the lessons, right, of the experience and the whole lesser cycle of 1 through 5, which is going to fashion this experience for a choice that is going to move into transformation. And that transformation, we can call it death in the body, because something has died in terms of what has been transformed. So certain things come and go, and again, this can be in any of the maintenance elements of our body. It can also be in our relationships with others. It can be with what we do with our hobbies or passions or our work. Anything can suddenly change, and you find yourself doing something different, and that is a transformation of the body. So we have, you see, in especially going back to what I was saying of how we can be reborn at any moment, because all the information is there, all the intelligence of the body is always present, and it's only a matter of paying attention to what is that wants to be transformed in our body. And like I said, I know I keep saying body as it's the physical chemical structure, but this is related to your relationships. You need a body for relationships. You need a body for working. You need a body for physical activities or enjoyment of life in some way or another. So whatever you do with the body that is part of the body cycle, or at least the whole spectrum of what the development of the body is. You see? So going back to that, there's always the moment in which you can be reborn to something different. Now, this doesn't have to be something huge, a huge transformation. Oh, I became vegan, or now I suddenly started running every morning X amount of miles, or things like that. Or changing your relationship suddenly. Then that's a huge transformation, of course. But you follow my meaning. It can be small things. It can be just anything that you were doing that you were tired of, and suddenly you just stop doing it. It could be biting your own nails. That could be something, even though it's totally related with the body. I didn't mean it that way. I mean just anything. It could be watching certain videos that you watched before. That's a transformation of what you do with the body. You see, it's your interaction constantly and what is changing. And the purpose is not just to follow changes because I need to change. Change is good. Change is good. No, it's following the intelligence of the body, of what it doesn't want anymore. Maybe it wants to start reading books. You haven't read books in a while, so you want to read books again. That's a transformation. Follow whatever it is that the body wants to. There is an unconscious intelligence there, and it needs to be nurtured. So that is transformation. You see, it's always taking into account. And I think the symbolism in the card of death is the reaper there, right? It's harvesting like body parts. It sounds so weird, but I believe the symbology for what I have read is mostly about the elements within the cycle of the body. So it's using the lesser cycle, and I keep using Joe Cortez's denomination for these lesser cycle of 1 through 4, including the significator, of course, and I think it's major cycle or greater cycle of significator transformation in great way. So this card is using the previous ones, and that is the purpose of having catalyst experience through matrix and potentiator. And so the body is interacting constantly with the environment, and there are certain things that it wants to do. Maybe it is that smoking cigarette thing that you're still doing. I don't know. Maybe your body doesn't want that. I think that's something to consider. Or it could be substances that you continue to use, alcohol, drugs, and I'm including plant medicine here because they are substances, regardless of if you consider them sacred or not. What is the use of all these things? Why do you have a relationship with that? Or going back to people and so on. So there's so much that can be talked about with the body cycle here, because is the mind interacting with the environment through this complex of the body. Okay. Now Ross says, just to reread, it may be seen to be additionally correct in that each moment, this is really important. You see, in Zen, they kind of discarded the whole idea of reincarnation. I'm sure some Zen Buddhists consider reincarnation something important in their teachings, but in Zen, reincarnation shouldn't be emphasized in Zen, because you see, reincarnation means that you already have settled your mind in that, well, I'm gonna have to come back because I don't seem to be a Buddha yet. That toxic thought will prevent you from being your Buddha nature, because Buddha is not a person that kind of set up a standard and that everybody needs to meet. Buddha nature is just recognizing who you are and living through that without any problems. What was the Buddha interested in? he was interested in the end of suffering or in satisfaction. So how can you accomplish that? By knowing who you are, simply remaining present. It's the same thing. I mean, we use different terminologies for the same thing, but it's just about recognizing this unity between you, the apparent manifested self, and everything else. So in Zen, they sort of just said, forget about reincarnation. You are reincarnating in every single second, because with every thought you are being, right? But if you stop thought, you stop being. You resume thoughts and you become again. So if you can become aware of this principle, you got it. You just got it. You see, because everything is there. Everything is there in that pause, recognition of self, then thought, and recognition of thought. So yeah, I think Ra he's being Zen, completely Zen here, to say that this may be additionally correct in that each moment. And then they go to say, certainly each diurnal period of the bodily incarnation offers death and rebirth to one which is attempting to use the catalyst which is offered it. So yes, everybody is dying and being reborn again unconsciously, as I just mentioned, through the process of simply thinking. And in associating themselves with thinking, they are being reborn. And it seems like a stream. For most people on this planet, it's a stream of being with the thoughts. See, it's like surfing an endless wave. And the wave crashes down sometimes and we get depressed. So instead of being in a wave continuously, the seeker is using catalyst, right? And in this way, you have to pause. You have to pause to see what was the wave you were riding. You see, what was that? Is that something that I enjoy, or something that I have been doing because of inertia, or because somebody told me to, or because it's good for me, and so on? So, the implications here are enormous.